This week in Jamaica Now, oil potential rises. Jamaica moves closer to possible offshore drilling after positive survey findings. After carnival mayhem, Vlogger Jaii Frais injured in shooting that marred the Big Wall party. Blocked. World Athletics halts a bid by 4 elite Jamaican athletes to switch to Türkiye. And legendary singer Ernie Smith, known for reggae classics such as Life is Just for Living, has died. I'm Jovan Johnson, and this is Jamaica Now. Jamaica could begin offshore oil drilling within 2 years following positive early findings from a geochemical survey off the coast of St. Thomas, which confirmed the presence of hydrocarbons. Hydrocarbons are chemicals made of hydrogen and carbon that are commonly found in oil and natural gas. Energy Minister Darrell Vaz has cautioned that the results are preliminary and significant investment is required, with each well costing up to $80 million and at least 14 wells needed. He said the government is now seeking international partners, with drilling not expected before 2027 or 2028. Minister Vaz added that any move forward will depend on environmental assessments, stakeholder consultations and cabinet approval.
The results are very positive, but they are positive scientifically because they have seen traces. They haven't seen or touched the real deal. But it's still important because that is what will move to the next step. So I want to indicate again that I am cautiously optimistic and praying very hard. And I encourage every Jamaican to do the same because obviously of what the impact of that, of any discovery would be.
Now, economist Dr. Damian King has said he hopes Jamaica never finds commercially viable oil, warning it could trigger a resource curse. Resource curse is the idea that countries rich in natural resources often end up worse off economically and politically than countries without them. Dr. King argues that large oil wealth could fuel corruption and intensify political and financial mismanagement. He said countries rarely become wealthy by extracting oil, but rather by refining the commodity without depending on it as a natural endowment. The government is weighing measures to curb fuel consumption amid instability in global oil prices due to the US-Israeli war against Iran in the Middle East. On Thursday, Energy Minister Darrell Vaz warned that COVID-19-style movement restrictions, including remote work, are under consideration. Minister Vaz says Petrojam, the country's sole oil refinery, has absorbed $11.8 billion in losses over the past 4 weeks while limiting price increases. But he says the situation is unaffordable and unsustainable, and further increases are likely as long as global instability persists.
But let me be blatantly, truthfully, upfront, in your face. The government of Jamaica cannot stomach $11.8 billion with all of what we have to do and the contending priorities. And anybody who tell you any different, I'm sure they will after this press conference. Rubbish. No government in a situation like this can sustain that. So my words to you, Jamaica, is definitively you are going to see increases as long as this continues. We will do what we can do, but it is important that you do what you need to do to understand that you need to conserve starting today.
He noted that fuel prices have risen sharply with only a portion passed on to consumers under the current cap, and confirmed that Cabinet will review a proposal for a tiered pricing system. Now, oil prices plummeted Friday after Iran said the Strait of Hormuz would be completely open to commercial ships for the remainder of the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Lebanon. The cost of a barrel of Brent crude fell to $88 a barrel, having been above $98 early on Friday. The Strait of Hormuz is a narrow strip of water linking the Gulf to the Arabian Sea, through which a fifth of the world's oil and liquefied natural gas is typically transported. The strait has been effectively shut by Iran since the US and Israel launched military strikes in the country on February 28. Brent crude oil is a benchmark used to price about 80% of oil contracts worldwide. And the private sector organization of Jamaica is urging the government to act swiftly to shield consumers and businesses from rising energy costs. The PSOJ warned that Jamaica remains highly vulnerable to external shocks, given its heavy reliance on imported fossil fuels. The organization is calling for urgent policy action, including the publication of the long-awaited National Energy Policy and faster rollout of renewable energy projects. In the short term, the PSOJ is also recommending tax relief on electric vehicles and a public education push to reduce energy dependence. Vlogger Jaii Richards, also known as Jaii Frais, has been charged following a court order that he be either charged or released by 6 p.m. on Friday. His attorney, Isaac Buchanan, had earlier applied for his release and said Richards was to receive medical attention in line with a court order issued on Wednesday. Mr. Richards and music producer Jahvy Morrison were detained as part of an investigation into Sunday's shooting at the Big Wall after Carnival party in St. Andrew. Mr. Morrison remains in custody. He's being represented by King's Counsel Peter Champagny. The police obtained a court order on Wednesday to extend the detention of the men. Under the law, the police have 48 hours to keep someone in custody without charge. But the police can also ask a court to extend the detention. Additionally, a person in custody through their lawyer can apply to the court for an order to compel the police to either charge or release them. Now, the police say the incident at the Ranny Williams Entertainment Center on Sunday stemmed from a dispute between patrons that escalated into a gunfight. The event followed the Carnival Road March earlier in the day. Jaii Frais and 2 other men were injured. One of the men is reportedly an associate of the entertainment entity 450. And the other man, United States visitor Jeremy Watson, says he has been left traumatized and is now facing urgent surgery. Mr. Watson says he was hit by a stray bullet within minutes of entering the event. The American described the incident as a serious failure in safety. The Jamaica Constabulary Force says new restrictions on firearms at entertainment venues will be introduced and meetings held with promoters to strengthen security requirements for events. The Jamaican police have issued a high alert for 6-year-old British child Kleio Rodriquez-Fairplay. She was reported missing on April 9 after being brought to the island by one of her parents. The police say the child, who is from London, was last seen wearing a pink coat with butterflies and is believed to have been taken from the United Kingdom in February last year. The alert from the police came months after the Sunday Gleaner highlighted the anguish of her mother, Dr. Samar Rodriguez, a London-based academic. Dr. Rodriguez has been seeking her return through legal and diplomatic channels, including a UK court order. Police are urging anyone with information to contact investigators immediately. A major setback has been dealt to 4 of Jamaica's top field athletes after World Athletics blocked their proposed switch to represent Türkiye, citing concerns about a coordinated recruitment strategy. The ruling released Thursday affects Rajendra Campbell, Jaden Hibbert, Wayne Pinnock and Roger Stoner, along with 7 other athletes from other countries. Mr. Stoner's agent, Paul Doyle, told Television Jamaica that the reigning Olympic discus champion is devastated.
You know, this is a guy who's changed his life to be in Turkey and be connected to Turkey. And I know they gave reasoning for their decision, but if you look at the transfers of allegiances that have happened in the past and even over the past few months and 6 months, it seems nonsensical to me that these athletes could be rejected. You know, in particular, OJ that I represent, doesn't make sense to me how just because they all came at one time, that they're not valid. You know, these athletes have changed their lives and devoted themselves to Turkey and to making a big change in their life, and now they're being restricted. It doesn't feel right. It feels like there's something else at play here.
The world governing body for track and field says the transfers would undermine rules designed to prevent national teams being built through external recruitment. World Athletics said the applications were assessed collectively and found conflict with the principles of its transfer regulations. The decision halts what was seen as a state-backed push by Türkiye to attract elite talent ahead of the 2028 Olympic Games. While the athletes may still compete in club events, they are barred from representing Türkiye at major championships. Attorney Saeed Bernard said contractual obligations could now become central to the dispute noting that athletes may have already fulfilled their part of the agreement. Any appeal must first go back to World Athletics Nationality Review Panel, the same body that denied the transfers, before reaching the Court of Arbitration of Sport. Former University Hospital of the West Indies UHWI Board Chairman Wayne Chai-Chong says he's prepared to appear before Parliament's Public Accounts Committee PAC. It comes as lawmakers intensify scrutiny of the procurement scandal at the region's premier teaching hospital, exposed in an Auditor General's Department report released in January. Mr. Chai-Chong told the Gleaner he would accept the invitation if asked, after the committee on Tuesday agreed to summon him, along with current CEO Fitzgerald Mitchell and former CEO Kevin Allen, to its next sitting on April 28. The Jamaica Customs Agency has also been called before the committee. PAC chairman and opposition lawmaker Julian Robinson said the move follows growing concern that current UHWI management has been unable to answer key questions arising from the audit findings. The report identified $521 million in contracts awarded without proper procurement documentation, alongside systemic breaches including unapproved contract variations, missing records and after-the-fact bidding. It also flagged the hospital's alleged misuse of its tax-exempt status to import items for 4 private companies. The report made no adverse findings against the officials who have been summoned. Mr. Chai-Chong, who resigned in December 2023, has previously defended his tenure, insisting his board pursued governance reforms while highlighting long-standing operational weaknesses at the institution. He also revealed that Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton blocked his board's move to appoint an acting CEO to replace the current CEO who was acting at the time. Dr. Tufton, who dissolved the board after Mr. Chai-Chong's departure, cited a clash of personalities and dysfunctionality among the reasons for the move. And it was also revealed at Tuesday's PAC meeting that the University Hospital owes more than $40 billion in taxes and fees to the government. Acting CEO Herrick Hossain made the disclosure.
Can you say of the $40 billion, how much of that would represent deductions taken from employees' salaries for things like NHT, NIS that have not been paid over to the respective agencies?
Just to clarify, Chair,
yes, please.
That the $40 billion include interest and penalties.
So if you take out interest and penalties, what would that figure be?
It was approximately $18 billion.
$18 billion, the same as the tax package for this year. Over what period do you have an age of that debt? Meaning, how long has that debt been running for?
I don't have the exact date, but it has been over several years.
Lawmakers raised concern about the scale of the debt, with MPs noting the disparity between the hospital's obligations and enforcement action against ordinary taxpayers. In a statement on Wednesday, the hospital blamed what it described as structural underfunding from the government for its ballooning tax debt. It said the debt reflects obligations accumulated over the period 2011 to 2026. It said government subventions have consistently averaged approximately 75% of the hospital's annual budget request, resulting in a monthly shortfall of approximately $300 million in statutory obligations. The UHWI said it operates as a fee-paying hospital, a regional teaching institution, and a national referral center legally required to provide care to all patients, regardless of ability to pay. Opposition leader Mark Golding has suggested that staffing issues at the Integrity Commission may be behind the delayed publication of his income and assets filings for 2024. Based on previous publication dates, Mr. Golding's filings, what's known as a statutory declaration, was expected to be published late in 2025. He was quizzed on the issue at the party's news conference on Tuesday.
You'll recall last year that there was a protracted period when the Integrity Commission didn't have certain personnel in place as a result of the tenure of existing officers coming to an end, and there was some kind of impasse that delayed the appointments of their successors. And that, I think, has caused some delay in their operations. So that's where that is. I can't comment any further on that.
Now, the law requires the publication of a summary of the annual assets and income filings by the Prime Minister and the opposition leader. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness and the Integrity Commission are in a court battle over his filings. Appointments to several key positions were delayed for months last year due to an impasse between the IC and the Office of the Governor-General. A Hanover woman says confusion has emerged over a government hurricane relief grant after she received a ceremonial cheque for $500,000 under the restoration of owner or occupant family shelters roofs program. Angela Allen said she was later told that she was approved for $200,000. Ms. Allen, who is from Claremont in Hanover, says she has already started repairs to her home using the lower amount while awaiting clarification. The Ministry of Labour and Social Security says Ms. Allen was informed of her approved sum via official channels, including text messages, and that the ceremonial cheque was symbolic. The matter has drawn political criticism, with the opposition People's National Party describing the program as poorly administered. At a news conference on Tuesday, opposition lawmakers urged the government to revisit the program, citing concerns about alleged partisan distribution of benefits. St. Elizabeth North Eastern MP Zuleika Jess said the administration should simplify the application process, extend the deadline for housing assistance, and increase the amount of money provided.
Now, it is very clear that many persons have still not been assessed for housing grant or housing assistance in the constituency of Northeastern St. Elizabeth. We see it every single time we go to the supermarket, we go on the road, people approach us asking for housing assistance or building material because they didn't even know that the government had set a deadline by which they should apply for assistance. Those who have actually been assessed, many of those who have been assessed have actually not received a benefit. They haven't received anything from Housing Trust, they haven't received anything from Trans-Jamaican Highway, which has assisted some persons through that program. They haven't received any form of governmental assistance whatsoever. And those who have received assistance will tell you that it is simply woefully inadequate. What they're getting, the little mickle, can't put on back a roof. It can't fix up back the window, it can't put on back a door because it's just not sufficient.
However, the government has rejected claims of partisan distribution, insisting the Roofs Initiative remains one of the most structured disaster recovery efforts ever implemented in Jamaica. The government says more than 110,000 household assessments have been completed to date and more than $9.5 billion disbursed.
We have said it before, but let me say it again. Not all persons who are assessed will receive a grant under roofs or under the shelter recovery program, because if you fall into the no damage or no significant damage categories, you will not receive a benefit. The benefit goes to minor, major, and severe. And we have 1,785 persons who we did assess, but they were assessed as no damage. They would have received some support, perhaps packages or other support, but they will not receive support for infrastructural development because it is not needed. Similarly, we have 9,958 persons with no significant damage, and many of them are being told by persons that they should agitate for grants despite knowing that they are not in the categories that should receive that benefit. Do not be used as a political tool. Not now. The time will come for that.
The Roofs program is a government initiative providing financial assistance to repair homes damaged by Hurricane Melissa, with grants of up to $500,000 for verified damage. And Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness has opened a parliamentary debate on a proposed law to lead Jamaica's reconstruction following last year's devastation from Hurricane Melissa. On Tuesday, Mr. Holness tabled a revised version of the legislation which will establish the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, NARA. The first version was criticised by stakeholders, including players in the construction industry. Dr. Holness said NARA will not only be about rebuilding.
On the issue of local participation, let me be clear, local contractors, local workers, local businesses are not peripheral to this reconstruction effort. They are central to the reconstruction effort. NARA is not simply a mechanism to spend money on rebuilding. It is a mechanism to use rebuilding as a means of strengthening Jamaica's capacity, deepening domestic capability, and laying a firmer foundation for long-term growth. Under NARA, reconstruction will strengthen Jamaican capacity, not sideline it or bypass it.
He said the proposed law establishes two distinct categories of projects, one group covering approved reconstruction and resilience projects, and the other group for designated strategic investment projects under the Facilitated Acceleration of Strategic Transformation FAST umbrella. He said the second group creates a dedicated pathway to fast-track private sector-led strategic investments. Dr. Holness said NARA will not be responsible for delivery, but boosting efficiencies.
NARA will act as a single point of national coordination for all approved reconstruction and resilience projects, eliminating the fragmentation, duplication, and interagency delay that have too often been the enemy of timely delivery. It will establish and maintain a public register of approved projects with performance indicators, reporting standards, and compliance and monitoring systems. Accountability will not be sacrificed for speed. On the contrary, NARA will operate with a level of project management discipline, transparency, and public reporting that has not previously been applied to government infrastructure delivery at this scale.
The opposition is expected to respond next week. Jamaica's music fraternity is in mourning following the death of legendary singer Ernie Smith, who passed away Thursday evening at a hospital in Florida. He had been battling health complications and recently underwent surgery for an intestinal issue. His wife, Claudette Bailey Smith, confirmed his passing, noting that he had shown signs of improvement before his final breath later that day. Now, tributes have been pouring in for the iconic reggae and folk artist, whose career spanned decades and produced timeless hits such as Life is Just for Living, Duppy Gunman, and Pitter Patter. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness and Opposition Leader Mark Golding both hailed Mr. Smith as a cultural icon whose music helped shape Jamaica's identity. His legacy, they say, will live on for generations. And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big news stories. Send us your comments at onlinefeedback@gleanerjm.com. Follow us on X, formerly Twitter, and Instagram at Jamaica Gleaner, and on Facebook at Gleaner Jamaica. Like this video on our YouTube page, turn on your notifications, and subscribe today. I'm Jovan Johnson.